I wanted to become an actor from a very, very young age, and I knew there was nothing else I wanted to do.
I always wanted to be on stage, but my parents wanted me to have a proper job.
I was in football on a Saturday, golf on a Sunday, swimming on a Friday. I had my weekend was mapped out, and then I sort of went to my parents and said, I want to join the drama. And they were like, okay.
I remember being in a pantomime playing Buttons in Cinderella at the local theatre, and I had so much fun doing that. And at the end of the run, the theatre school owner came up to me and said, oh, there's a casting director who's been in the audience for the BBC, and they really want you to audition for an extra in the TV show Grange Hill. So my parents found a theatre school in North London where I was living at the time, and I went there and fell even more in love with performing, and joined an agency and did a few little TV and little side things as a kid.
So after school, I took a year out to do a gap year here in the UK, in Coventry. But it was to do a singing course. So I came, and it really was my dream. My teacher was in musical theatre here in London, and she's just like, you need to get involved, you need to go to castings and stuff. So I kind of just did. I came to London, went to a bunch of open calls. I had no agent and no formal training, but I just thought, I'm a star, so London is waiting for me, but it really wasn't. But when I got here, I realized that the standard was super high, so I went to classes, I took courses, eventually I booked an international tour. From that I got an agent, and a few years down the line, I actually took some time to study acting.
I was doing a history degree, and I was doing lots of shows at the same time with all my friends, and I just was like, this is the only thing I like to do. So much to my parents' dismay, I decided to go and train for a year at the Royal Academy of Music and do a postgrad music theatre course there.
I studied economics in my uni, and I kind of went to have like a proper job, but I was not happy and I really wanted to pursue my dream. So yeah, I studied music in Korea. And I moved to London about 4.5 years ago to go to the drama school. So I went to Montview to do the MA in musical theatre, which was great, like the best time in my life.
The course at the Academy was great. It introduced us to a lot of MDs and directors and things like that. So actually, I was really lucky. I got an agent straight away and I got my first job pretty quickly. And then one job leads to another job.
I've been really, really lucky, touch wood. I've managed to do quite a lot of West End musicals like Les Mis, Chicago, Jersey Boys. I also get to work quite a lot in Ireland as well, which is obviously where I'm from.
My first professional theatre job, I was in The Lion King in the West End. I was in the ensemble, and one of my roles was playing the back end of the rhino. I was 17 years old when I started in that job, and in The Lion King I was able to play all these different kind of roles, the different animals, and I was lucky enough to understudy some of the roles in the show, and as over the years I then became the Simba understudy and won the role of playing Simba not only in the West End but also in Singapore.
I got the call really randomly. I was a best man at my brother's wedding, and I got a call saying, you're in for Come From Away tomorrow. And I said, well, what? And what is this? And I hadn't even heard of it at this point. As soon as I read up on what it was, as soon as I listened to the soundtrack, I was completely obsessed. I don't ever normally go into an audition room thinking I have to get this particular job, but I really wanted this job.
Come From Away came into my radar because it opened next to the Shaftesbury where I was performing at the time in Motown, and I remember I came to watch it, and I was like, let's see what the show's about then, because there was so much hype, from Broadway. Literally within 10 minutes I was like crying my eyes out and laughing. I had an amazing experience.
Come From Away landed on my radar firstly because my friend was in it early on, Kirsty Malpass, and I came to see her in it, and I just loved the show so much. And then luckily a few months after that the auditions came up, and I just went and auditioned for it, and I got the part.
I mean, I was a big fan of the show, so when I got the call from my agent, it was just like I was in like tears, but also like I was like screaming because it's such an incredible show and like such an incredible story, and I really loved the show. So it was just unbelievable, and I still can't believe it, to be honest.
As a sound engineer, we make sure you can hear everything as the designer originally intended, whether that's the musicians or the actors or a couple of sound effects in this show as well.
We're in the lighting box. This is where I hide away during the production and operate the show, and it's where all the equipment is to actually operate the show. We have cameras here because I can't actually see the stage. I can only see half the stage from where I am, so we have a high definition camera for me to look at, so to reference all the shows. I have 7 monitors in front of me.
An assistant stage manager is an essential part of keeping the show going. So I look after props, I make sure that the actors go on stage at the right time, and I also cover the book, which involves calling, lighting and sound cues.
When we come in, the first thing we do is turn the laundry around, so we can get everything dry and ironed, and then we go through our costumes. We make sure there's no repairs that need doing, nothing that needs replacing, and then we might do some sewing, some shopping, and then turn the cast around to see who's on holiday and who's sick, and get the show prepped for our dresser Derek to come in and do the preset.
After I left school, I went to university and I'd studied a degree in sound engineering for theatre, and then following that I came to work here.
I got into lighting because my mum and dad are involved with theatre, and I don't enjoy singing and dancing, but they do, but I still wanted to be involved. So I found myself slowly creeping behind the stage, and I ended up sort of toying with doing the lighting, and then from there it was just like a hobby that got a little bit out of control, so this is what I'm doing now.
I actually started doing theatre at university through my local amateur dramatic society. Decided that I really love stage management, so I came to London, went to drama school, worked my way up through sub-rep theatre and then into the West End.
I've always loved sewing. I've always loved the creating a new dynamic in a person through their clothing and telling a character through clothing. I enjoy the sculpting of costumes. It's just it's something new every day. You're constantly learning.
I think my favourite part of the job is getting to mix the show. That's where we stand here at the front of house position at the sound desk and we mix the show live every night.
My favourite moments would be, I would say it'd have to be coming back from COVID because of the response we had. We did the opening number, and I think at the end of the opening number, it was like 4 or 5 minutes just standing ovation and just feeling that energy and all of that, love, if you like, the theatre is back. And actually, that was probably one of the best moments I've had in theatre, I think, actually.
If you're interested in sound, I definitely say get involved with your local theatre, get involved in your school productions and learn as much as you can, and you'll soon find you progress.
You have to have a passion for it because the hours are, it's like a night out, so everything is in the evening usually. So it's quite antisocial, so your family is your theatre family.
If you're looking to ever have a career in costume or wardrobe, I would advise sticking with the creative roots, doing as much sewing as you can, looking at art, looking at different media. Also, I studied history. History is really useful because we're always going, even if it's modern costume, it's never what you're wearing now. So knowing the history, whether it is the economic, the political, even just what's happening in TV in different eras is insanely helpful.
Just keep going. It takes a couple of times to get into the West End, but it's worth it when you get there. Try and be as organised as you can, and also just be polite and look after people that you come across.
I used to play a lot of football as a teenager, and I used to get a lot of injuries. I was part of a drama club and I was told to start ballet for my injuries. It prevented injuries, but I enjoyed it so much that I went into musical theatre at university.
Growing up, I was a performer. I very much loved doing that job. I went on loads of different tours. I literally went to different ATG venues throughout those tours, so I kind of got to get an idea of how ATG operated. And then in the back of that, I thought, why not? Let's go back, work inside a theatre. And I've been here for the last 2 years, which has been amazing. I learned that I was better as a manager than on stage. And as a result, I went from front of house upwards across ATG's plethora of venues to where I am today. I am a supervisor of our front of house team. I'm essentially the person who helps to look after each of our levels, and they're basically to ensure the team are here to perform to their best and have the best time.
I started at the Lyceum as front of house and a cover supervisor. As front of house, you do everything from showing people to seats all the way through to selling items on bars and making sure that the customer service you offer is the standard that is expected at high levels, which is in all theatres. Moving across to the Apollo Victoria with Wicked, I had the pleasure of being a customer experience supervisor, where you get to take on a bit more responsibility leading the team, guiding them, training them, and supporting them through the everyday, which is always different. You get a different experience on every shift, which again is part of the joy of theatre. And then I came over here to the Phoenix Theatre in the customer experience manager role, which again is another level. You get to work much more closely with the show, with the people that work on the show, as well as every other element of the venue team and the central teams.
I think just go for it. Try something new. Don't be afraid. All of these people all come from a different background. So we've got someone who's into fashion, someone who's into writing, someone who's into directing. But actually, through working in a theatre, you kind of get to learn loads of different knowledges. So actually, you get to experience a whole world of theatre. So it's great. So why not? Give it a go.
Talk to people, because talking to people gives you the biggest insight. If you go out there, you can get front of house roles. It gives you a really good opportunity to learn transferable skills that you can take into any venue, into any job. Whether you decide if theatre is what you want or not, there's no harm in trying.